Yo, what's up, world? Welcome back to the channel. APWSPORTS signing in, and there is another bombshell that has happened within the Chicago Bears world, as the Bears have traded all-pro linebacker Roquan Smith to the Baltimore Ravens in exchange for 2nd and 5th round picks. Now, this trade comes, I believe, as not a surprise at all, seeming as if the way that this offseason played out between the Bears and Roquan with the hold-in / holdout, it was inevitable that the Bears were probably going to let go of Roquan Smith at some point. Now, there are a couple of different ways that you can look at this trade for the Bears involving the Ravens. Now, one thing that you could possibly say about this trade is that the Bears were unwilling to pay Roquan Smith that top linebacker money that he coveted. Now, of course, there was a big deal about that contract extension this all season, and it looked like the Bears were unwilling to pay it. With the new regime, with Ryan Poles in the front office, we're not willing to pay Roquan Smith that top dollar despite his very productive seasons that he had with the Chicago Bears. It was just looking like the Bears did not want to pay him some of that cap money that he requested, and I believe that he rightfully deserves because of his play. Now, we all know Roquan to be a very fast linebacker, to be a very productive linebacker. He can do things in a blitz. His coverage skills are not the best, but he can do some things in coverage. He can do some things with the blitz. So Roquan Smith is a very versatile linebacker that is going to help the Baltimore Ravens in their seasons to come, because I believe they got Roquan out of a bit of a steal, and that Baltimore Ravens defense needed some linebacker help. So I believe the Ravens just got that much better with the improvement of getting Roquan Smith. Now, another thing to look at it from the Chicago Bears perspective is that they are getting more pick compensation to build this team throughout the draft. Now, Ryan Poles has previously said that he is looking to build this Chicago Bears roster through the draft. And with the trading of Khalil and with the trading of a guy like Quinn, of a trading like Roquan Smith, getting some dead money in your books now, but getting pick compensation back, just speaks more as to what direction that this Chicago Bears team is going. They're going towards the future. Right now, this Chicago Bears roster, let's just face it, was not getting anywhere. Even if they made a bit of a playoff push, it was going to 9 times out of 10, or maybe 10 times out of 10, be a first-round exit. So even if the Bears were to somehow sneak or somehow make the playoffs, they weren't going to get anywhere. So I do believe from that perspective, the Bears made a good choice of trading him, getting some more draft compensation so they can continue to build this roster for 2023 and going forward. And another reason why I think the Bears are starting to collect some of those draft picks, hear me out on this, I do think that the Bears could possibly use some of this draft equity and future trades. Maybe it's the trade to get that top-notch wide receiver that becomes unhappy this offseason. Maybe it's a trade to get a top-notch pass rusher that becomes unhappy. Maybe it's an offensive lineman that becomes unhappy and wants out. The Bears can use some of that draft compensation in order to get a different type of a player in here that will help elevate this team in 2023. Now, the reason that the Bears, I think, got only 2nd and 5th round picks was because Roquan himself was unhappy with his contract situation. And when players start to request trades from teams, that starts to diminish a little bit of their trade value, because they're going to be more willing to trade a player that wants out versus trading a player that wants to be there, wants to stay. Once you want to leave out, that trade value diminishes, and that's why I believe they got a 2nd and a 5th. Now, Roquan is an all-pro linebacker, which why you got a little bit more compensation in this trade than you did in the previous Quinn trade. And also, you think about it, Roquan Smith is still a 25-year-old player. So he's still young. He still has a lot more productive years in front of him. So you're going to get a little bit more in value versus you would have for a guy like Quinn. And I think the Bears did right in this situation because, number one, if Roquan walks at the end of the season, which is starting to look like he may do, especially with the Bears being so unwilling to pay him, you weren't going to get anything for him from him walking away from this team. So I believe that the front office thought that they're probably going to lose Roquan at the end of the season and they weren't going to get anything for him. So getting a trade for a 2nd and a 5th round pick, I think made sense is the fact of at least you get some type of a compensation for Roquan Smith not being on the team anymore versus him leaving in free agency, and you get absolutely nothing back in return. So for that perspective, the Bears made a bit of a smart decision looking towards their future and looking towards rebuilding this roster through the draft like I previously said. Now, of course, this is going to absolutely diminish the Bears' chances of winning success in this 2022 season because Roquan Smith was basically the engine at this point of this Chicago Bears defense with the trading of Robert Quinn last week. So this makes this Bears defense that looked absolutely bad against the Dallas Cowboys, it makes them look even worse with the trade of Roquan Smith, but you start to really see some of these young guys come into play. I think this season has become more about the evaluation of some of the young talent that the Chicago Bears have brought in. And of course, the evaluation of one Justin Fields. So coming into this season, I believe this self that the development of Justin Fields should be what this 2022 season should be about. And with the trading of Robert Quinn and with the trading of Roquan Smith, points more towards if this guy can play, as I'm speaking of Justin Fields, then we can start to do more things around him, not only just on the offensive side of the ball, but on the defensive side of the ball. Now, of course, trading Roquan Smith leaves a big hole, but there are so many reasons that the Bears did this trade. For my opinion, to be 100% honest, I actually agree with it a little bit. If some of those trades that they possibly can do this offseason, the draft picks and some of the free agents that they have the money to bring in this 2023 offseason, if some of that works out, especially with the draft compensation, then we will start to be like, okay, we see where they're doing, we see what this team is going to, and we see why they traded Roquan. Of course, he's still young. He could have been a building block for this Bears defense, and I think he would have been more of a Shaquille Leonard impact with this Bears defense if the Bears was to keep him around. But they lose a lot on the field, of course. It's sad to see Roquan go because he could have been mentioned in the names of linebackers like a Mike Singletary, a Brian Urlacher, a Dick Butkus, a Lance Briggs. He could have been mentioned in some of those great linebackers that we have for the Bears. But at the end of the day, the Bears traded Roquan to the Baltimore Ravens for a 2nd and 5th. They get some value back just in case he walked. So at the end of the day, I actually agree with it. As much as it hurts me as a Bears fan, I actually agree with this trade. But that's all I've had to say. Make sure you guys leave this video a like, as it always and continues to help this channel to grow and to boost the algorithm. Comment your thoughts about the Roquan trade down below. I would love to see what you guys think about it. And if you are not subbed, make sure you click the sub button and notification bell so you will not miss any of the videos. But I'm APW Sports signing out. Make sure you guys stay safe. Have a great next day, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Bear down. Peace.